Hey Tom, very good to have you on. What are three things you want people to know about 3D Source?
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Primarily, we're a 3D strategy company, so we can work with our partners to develop a 3D strategy based on our decades of experience to build a future-proof plan for product visualization and visual CPQ. And so we've always focused on photorealism. So that's number one. And we are all in on Unreal Engine for that reason because it simulates reality. And we're selling things. So that's psychology. And the closer you can get someone to that reality, regardless almost of what it is, you're selling more effectively the more they can visualize it on screen. Number two is because our visuals are so good, we can actually not just impact that top line customer experience and all the great things you can get from a 3D visualization solution, but also bottom line savings in photography. So whatever you're spending today in photography costs, that can be defrayed significantly by just getting on board with a set of digital twins that are in a universal platform like Unreal Engine that we have software to bring to bear and others do as well to double up on the value of going in that direction. And then the third thing would be that we are really investing heavily in AI. So everyone likely is, but rather than taking an approach of kind of a chat GPT wrapper on top of things, we really see it as a transformational moment in the visual CPQ arena where it starts leveling the playing field. You know, those who had a way to do recommendation engines, let's say, well, most of that's likely going to be replaced by AI that will do such a great job of holding so much data and feeding it back to users as a intelligent sales agent.
Excellent. But I think, especially for visual solutions, it's always important to see what we're talking about. Hence, the question is, can you maybe show me a little bit what the capabilities of your solution are so that we get the people get a better idea of what it is this is all about?
Right, so let's look at what one of our clients, Tucci, has for their configurator of parasols, also cabanas. We've recently put into Unreal as well. And watch how fast this starts from their configurator. You're in here just lightning quick, no download time like WebGL, and you have a far superior visual that you can get right up close and see all the detail and interact with it at the same time. The complexity of these from just the geometry standpoint is pretty amazing. We've yet to add kind of an environment for this one, but you can see here, you can switch to cantilever style, and then across that, you've got all these different shapes and even sizes, rectangles, duals and triples, all of them represented in Unreal. So here's a nice big size. You can see what's happening underneath. You can pick different finish options, pick something shiny, and you're going to see with Unreal all the reflections and beauty in materials like this. And then, of course, for the canopy, picking different colors and options. And beyond that, they have an incredible number of canopy options. We'll flip over to the top. And look at accent borders, and you can pick colors there, alternating panels, right? So unlike other types of 3D, you know, what you are allowed to do is just zoom in. You see the reflections there, look great. Zoom all the way in and check out the material and the fabric and the quality of premium products that just look great in this type of 3D. And at the end, you know, we can output to PDF and get into all that great stuff. And we can click over to another of our clients, American Bath Group, who have a really beautiful bathroom configurator. So this is all in Unreal Engine, real-time lighting, beautiful product, and you can change out all kinds of things in the room just to match your style. But then they go really deep on all of their products, obviously, in terms of different types of tubs. We're even changing the size of the room to match. And in freestanding, like we can pick different products, see how they look in real time. In the shower systems, it gets even more complex with base, walls, fixtures, doors, materials on the chrome, all of those things changing that we're handling. And then with showcase mode, we're able to just in real time jump into a real-time video. We can still change things while we're watching the video, but we can take advantage of the fact that we're able to zoom around the room like a YouTube video and play with things in here that we want to see change even on the fly. So if we switch this guy, switch the countertop, we're going to see all these things happen in real time, and I can continue the tour as we go. And then lastly, for our MetaBox, this is our photography application. Here's a shot that we made, and you can jump right into the image, load it exactly as it was in real time, and zoom around, have a look at maybe where you want to place a light. So I'll drag one in there. You see how it immediately impacts the lighting in the room as you move it around. Even if I just wanted to hide it back here, it looks interesting that there's some light coming from back there. I'm not an interior decorator, but then come back to roughly that same position and take the shot. So
then the next one is, what do you expect from the visual market in the next 12 months or so?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a strong shift to Unreal Engine, or at least there ought to be. It's happening in the gaming world, in the video production world, in other arenas, automotive. So we think that will happen. It would make sense. There's a lot of people still latching onto old technology like WebGL, but we think that's around the corner. I also think that it's interesting that the training data, so like AIs are able to learn from simulation data now. And so the value of having your products in photorealistic 3D like Unreal Engine, again, just continues to compound when other engines and you can offer up or be the nexus of generating images, video, plus text pairs with deep data for the future of AI, right? So driverless cars here in San Francisco are everywhere collecting data, but I'm not letting them into my office to drive around, right? So the built environment, simulated environments are the next big thing in terms of what AI can pick up on and learn from. And again, that library that you have that's compatible with such platforms is just a great tool to continue that value chain.
Excellent. And I will ask you some more questions about this in a minute. But one thing I wanted to know also from your point of view, based on the customers that you're talking to, what are the most common benefits they mention that your solution brings to their business?
Yeah, I would say that the most value is just that we focus on our customers' bottom line, right? So they come in and they're not implementing this stuff just for something cool. We leave that to a lot of the VR and AR stuff, which is interesting tech, but requires symbolic, not photorealistic content today. Could change. We keep track of that. But mostly we're really proud when our customers tell us that their users, and we see it when we look at our end users, that the technology fades to the background when they describe the experience of looking at the product, not a model of the product or a 3D version of it. And that, again, back to psychology, is really where people start imagining what that product looks like as configured, which perhaps has never been configured before. Beyond that, it's photography. So the ability to leverage this not just for one point solution, but for photography as well. And then the future-proof value of building at a high quality just means you're on Unreal Engine, and any and everything that uses Unreal Engine is open and available to you in terms of platform technology beyond ours to continue to leverage that.
Excellent. And what do you think should customers do to make a visual project more successful? Maybe a couple of 2 or 3 steps that you would recommend them to do?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is just do a little bit of research, and research the underlying technology. So most of these sorts of tools run on a WebGL or other type of technology. Maybe it's Unity or Unreal Engine like we run. So understand what's happening under the hood and level that playing field, because many providers don't talk about that. They'll talk about their solution without that sort of underlying tech. And that could mean there's some kind of proprietary format or something like that that should sound some alarm bells. So ideally, it's something where there's a extensibility to the library you're building, not just for the one solution, but many solutions beyond. And I think also, find out about the complexity. So even though we're doing the highest level of quality, many of our solutions can still support an enormous amount of customization to, like, not even in the quadrillions. We're talking, like, recently we did an analysis like 10 to the power of 44, right? Just that level of possible options you can dial up. So again, you don't have to pick between complexity of the product, the rules, where they're coming from. We'll work with any ERP system, CRM, e-commerce. So think about those integrations as well. Some platforms may lock you into, well, we work with these guys exclusively, and you'll pay something to open up that API. So think about that for sure. Make sure they're as open as possibly can be. And then from there, it just really boils down to the quality and speed. So we think Unreal Engine is the best fit for most things, but if you're doing server racks, it's very complex and just barely visual, sure, like we will yield. Like, we're not married to that one technology, but we think for so many things, it just makes sense.
And then one last question I wanted to ask you concerning AI. You already mentioned ChatGPT in the beginning, but let's leave ChatGPT aside for a moment, right? So because for visual solutions, I would also think about integrations to something like DALL-E 2 and other programs. How about that? What do you see concerning customer demand concerning these technologies?
Yeah, so we have dozens of AI projects that we're working on at the scientific level. So we're not just kind of snapping these things together. We're thinking about how it's available and brings value to our customers today. And then what might it look like a year from now, or even 6 months in the world of AI? It's measured in weeks. But creating a 3D model, like waving it over a car and saying, okay, now make the configurator, that won't happen for quite a while. But there are little bits of that pipeline that we are looking at with scientific AI to speed things up, to make more effective, for sure, especially when it comes to photography. So backgrounds and integrating what has to be a perfect product photo with no hallucination into an image, right? That's a interesting value that our customers have said that they would like to have. So there's not as much of a magic wand when you care that it's not any parasol or any car, but it's your car. That presents a problem with today's current AI that we're tracking. But there's lots of interesting ways that our big brains are getting around that to find how 3D can work. But again, the data, the connection into databases, working with ERP data, I think is a massive game changer for CPQ in general. And it really comes to bear, like for us, with user interfaces, where we try and build a nice looking user interface, but at some point when you have that many possible combinations, it becomes natural language is really the best way to sell something like that. So we want to talk to a sales rep. You want to start with paint color. You want to start with the base of a parasol versus the size. Consumers want to go where they want to go. And so it's really a nice flexible tool in terms of navigating that landscape and not making a customer feel like, well, I have to go through this linear process or be faced with a user interface that looks like software. So it's beautiful from that standpoint. And so we think it's going to level the playing field. We'll have everything that than others will with recommendation engines and others. And I think what we have is the visual to go along with it, which will be really the deciding factor for brands making this kind of decision in the future.